What's up, everyone? If you don't know me, my name is Denzel Mensah. I'm a life, personal development, and relationship coach, ENFJ 911. And today we are going to be talking about how to understand FE just a little bit better. Let's get it. Okay, so first and foremost, this video was sorta inspired by Lijo's recent video on FI's experience with FE. If you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. You might relate. I want to put out the disclaimer right away that this is not in any way an attack to Lijo or her channel or her content. Probably doesn't even know that I exist. But honestly speaking, it's really just, me speaking my piece, especially as an FE Dom. Lijo's an INTJ, so she doesn't have FE in her stack. So I think that her experience is valuable. But of course, as an FE Dom, it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess that I'm fitting to speak for
those pesky FE users that may be bothering you, particularly if you're an FI user.
And I just thought that maybe I would add a little bit of my own 2 cents to it. And just so that, it can kind of like even out the playing field. If you check out the video, Lijo pretty much speaks about how FE pretty much uses emotional data in order to get a feel of how everyone's feeling about certain things and make decisions based off of it. FE will probe you for that emotional data so they can pretty much make decisions. And the reason why it's more triggering for FI users is because FI is more internal. It's kind of keeping that emotional data for the most part to themselves. It's something that they're usually working on, especially when it's lower stacked. So in the video, Lijo uses the analogy of socks, and she kind of does a little bit where pretty much the FE user is like, hey, so can I see your socks? And the FI user is like, no, that's weird, pesky FE user. I'm really just, the pesky thing obviously got to me. But she's like, oh no, that's weird. These are my socks and I don't want to show them to anyone. And then the FE user is like, okay, fine, and FE user starts being passive aggressive. And it's like, it's fine. You don't have to share your socks. After pushing a little bit more with, the FE of trying to see the socks. It's like, I can see everyone else's socks here. So I just kind of need to see yours. But if you're not going to show me, then I guess we're just not going to talk about socks. And, I guess you won't get any socks for your Christmas, for Christmas gifts and blah, 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 blah. Just going on this whole thing. And then the FI user's like, the socks are for me and nobody else should be seeing my socks. So obviously it's extremes. Lijo knows this. It's just an analogy to kind of portray the idea. And I understand that. But I just wanted to kind of add my 2 cents to that analogy and kind of tweak it a little bit, because I guess the thing is, I have absolutely no problem, I promise you, with FE being, teased, poked at, roasted, if you will, but it has to be accurate. And so I found a little bit of inaccuracies in that portrayal, and it could only go so far when you don't have FE in your stack, and so you can pretty much only understand it from maybe a theoretical sense. So I thought that as an FE Dom, I could just add my own 2 cents to that, and it could probably help bring more accuracy to roasting FE users, but also not adding unnecessary things to what doesn't really bother FE users, or what doesn't really actually resonate with FE users. So I think one of the biggest things that I would pretty much clarify as an FE user is that as FE users, we are often so self-conscious about how other people are viewing us that it's kind of uncommon that we will be so invasive in that sense and probe to that level. It's true that FE users do need emotional information a lot of times. I actually left a comment on Lijo's video essentially saying that, you know, I appreciated the perspective and everything. But to me, an example of this kind of sock thing would be something small. Like, okay, the whole group is trying to find out where we should go to eat. All right, what do you guys like? If I come to you and you have this hesitancy for Thai food, but you're an FI user and it's so, you know, deeply cherished for you that you don't want to share that you don't like Thai food. First and foremost, I'm not going to be like, no, you have to get that out of me. It's so important. I need to know if you don't have any preferences. I'm going to be like, okay, all right, if it's that private to you, that's cool. You know, you're not obligated to tell me how you feel about Thai food or whatever. But hopefully you know that the reason why I was asking is because I'm trying to make a decision. I'm trying to help the group out so that we can do something that everybody would enjoy. But if you're okay with your information not being placed into the data set, hopefully if we get Thai food, that's not going to be a bother to you. Now, in other situations, this might come out as the FE user actually trying to produce intimacy with the person or trying to foster intimacy with the person. I think that's where, at least for me, you'll find me most actively, gently being invasive. And it sounds oxymoronic, but the reason why I say gently invasive is because when it comes to intimacy, you have to be gentle. When you really think about it, then you can't just go ramming into a person, you know, for lack of better terms. You have to kind of like warm up to that, and you have to kind of like understand where they're coming from, and, you know, you have to kind of make it a dance of some way. And when you really understand that kind of thing, then the person becomes very easy to open up to. It. Everything's lubricated, and then you're able to better engage in intimacy. And I think that that's what FE is often looking for. I think personally, at least from my experience especially, that sure, FE wants to help people. And FE is like seeking to make decisions for people in that sense and get people's needs met. But I think that one of the biggest things that FE is actually searching for at its nucleus is not just harmony, but intimacy. FE wants intimacy with other people. That's why it's focused on the interpersonal dynamic in that sense. And especially when it comes to NFJ types, they're very focused on intimacy, on getting to know you deeper. And in order to foster intimacy, well, things have to be shared from both sides. And so FE users might actually ask you about those socks. An FE user might ask you about some of the things that you are keeping. And I personally believe that for FE users who do this, they are seeking intimacy, but because, once again, they are self-conscious about how they're being viewed and how somebody might feel about them, then they will instead choose to just not probe too much. Instead, we'll be like, okay, you know, like, I'm trying to, you know, get deeper with you, but if I see that you're closed off in this way, that's fine. I don't want to make you uncomfortable, because if you're uncomfortable as an FE Dom, I am uncomfortable. I don't want to be uncomfortable, so I'm not going to make you uncomfortable. And therefore, the moment I start to notice that you're uncomfortable, I am going to stop whatever it is that I'm doing that's making you uncomfortable. So that's why I believe that FE, when it's being roasted in such ways, it's getting pushed too frequently as something. Let me let my cat out. Hold on.
She is a wildin'. You are so dramatic. Oh,
Here you go.
she doesn't even dare to.
I have never heard her make that sound before.
Right, like, people are making abuse.
So because FE is so self-conscious of where they stand with you, then they're way more likely to back off once they've noticed that they've made you uncomfortable. And from there, then they also just won't pursue intimacy with you. Instead, they'll just take it as like, oh, okay, I know that this person is not obligated to give up information that'll allow us to engage in intimacy. But as a consequence of that, then yeah, I'm not going to try to further engage or explore intimacy with this person. And that could be sad for both parties. That could be sad for only the FE user. Maybe it won't even be sad for either of them. But I think that that's something that people should try to understand. That when FE is searching for those socks, a lot of the times FE is actually just trying to build intimacy. And if anything, I don't think that FE users are trying to share your deepest things with the community. Now, I did share this video with 2 of my INTJ friends, and I wanted to get their opinion on it because, you know, maybe there was a blind spot there. Thankfully, I actually didn't receive the response that I was thinking that I was going to. Instead, they both kind of actually surprised me by saying that they don't experience this with FE users in their life. That's not to say that FE users never do this, I guess. But at least to these 2 INTJ women, they both said that if anything, the FE users in their lives are actually very considerate about these kinds of things. They're very careful in that way. And if anything, they thought that it was funny because they found it that the FI users a lot of times are the ones that might probe deeper in that sense, and try to get things from them in that way. And I thought that was a little bit funny. So one example could be, you know, I have an ISFP wife, and there are tendencies, or there have been instances where when she would engage with people who have lower stacked FI, then she's just naturally very inquisitive. She's just naturally very introspective. And so she might ask certain questions, or she might probe in certain ways that might get right to the FI, and then the FI lower stack might hiss, no, I don't want to share that kind of thing. Now, my wife, once again, is not someone who's going to really push and probe. But I thought that it was interesting because with TJs, I don't think that they actually experience this as much with FE users, because a lot of times FE users don't even know the type of FI questions to ask to get to that type of point. Instead, they're asking things more about on intimacy type of levels rather than like on a very FI kind of stance. And perhaps one day, you know, I'll do a video with my wife and we'll be able to definitely see the difference. Her type of questions are a lot different from mine. And I think that if anything, those are more of the types of things that when they're getting unearthed, that could make a TJ or any type of FI user like uncomfortable. So that's interesting. Just like with FE, it's the TI users who maybe might probe an FE user for their real, true opinions on things. And it's the TI that's actually that actually makes the FE user be like, wait, you're trying to like actually dig this out? I don't want to share what I actually think. But an FI user might not have the ability to be able to do that just as much. Or even TE to an extent. Not the way the TI, like the TE might be able to get the FE user to just say whatever they think in a certain way, but the TI will really like bring it out in a way that's very nuanced and detailed, or try to, and that could be very gruesome for the FE user. So that's just something that I'd also noticed. Objective Personality had dropped a video on Will Smith being an ENFJ and how he had this book club or something, or he was writing a book with a whole bunch of different celebrities and stuff like that. And they were kind of teasing like, oh, Will Smith, like, don't you have FE? Shouldn't you see that everybody in the room is actually like really annoyed with you about this right now?
It's a rant on FEs. FEs, what happened? Yeah. You guys are supposed to be so good at reading people. Can you not read the terrorizing, paralyzing, I fucking hate this to my core, emotion all over your kid's face? Yeah, but I have a first function. I can't turn it off. It's FE. I have to fucking annoy people 24 hours a day to get my therapy session.
My response to that would be, No, because Will Smith has FI instead. So my personal opinion is that Will Smith is actually an ESFP. He's just a matured and seasoned ESFP, and his NI has now started to develop. So now all of a sudden he's lived enough life and he's charismatic, and so everyone's like, oh, he must be an intuitive. I don't think so. I think that it's, if anything, his NI is now coming out, and it's something that, you know, he's like, oh, let me put this on Instagram or whatever. But we're really mostly seeing FI from Will Smith. And so when he's like having this book club and he's having everyone join, and then he's like, oh yeah, I guess it kind of turned into a therapy session in the video, then Dave made it seem like, oh, well, you know, like, don't act like you didn't know this was going to happen. I would argue that if he was an ENFJ, he definitely knew that it was going to happen. NI in the stack higher with FE, you know how things are going to fall and play a part with the people around you. And you don't really want to force them into such situations, because that's not really going to create the intimacy that you're actually like looking for. I could see how that could maybe seem a little bit stereotypical ENFJ-ish in a way, like, oh, you know, you've gathered the people and you're about to have like deep conversations. But the way that this was being done seemed a lot more like an ESFP's way of doing it. Like we're unearthing all the FI and we're just sharing it all, and we're just spilling all of our guts in a way that's raw and that way. I don't think that that's how exactly an ENFJ would move in that type of manner. Now, all this being said, please don't get me wrong. There are many things that are wrong with FE, or that can be focused on and roasted on with FE. For example, FE users can be very controlling, and FE users can also often be very facetious and passive aggressive in their language. And FE users can very frequently withhold information because they're trying to protect you from whatever it is that they're protecting you. So there's a lot of different things that we could roast FE users for, and I would even be like, yeah, that's true. Even if for some of them I might not relate, I would know that, no, this is the general consensus for FE. And I'd even remember times where I did relate before I did the work on myself. But, well, like I said earlier in the video, when it's inaccurate or has a little bit of the, like, it's going in the right direction, but we want to tweak it a little bit, and it's just not really hitting it well, then that's when it's like, okay. Because then, even though I have TI as my fourth function, it's still something for me that's like, okay, but this is not right. And then because we're spreading this kind of information, like, oh, Will Smith is an ENFJ, then now all of these people are going to find other ESFPs, and then they're going to hold the ESFPs to the ENFJ standard. And then when an ESFP is just being an ESFP of some sort, then it's like, oh, wow, yeah, my grandma is an ENFJ or ESFJ, and they did the same thing like Will Smith. Are we sure that your grandmother is actually an EFJ type? Because you're using Will Smith, who, in my opinion, is not an EFJ, as the standard. And I think that that kind of inaccuracy really creates like a lot of problems. So, all that being said, if we're going to roast any of the types, any of the functions, all of that, then continue to try to see it done in an accurate way. And of course, don't forget that every function is equally valuable and it's equally treasured. It should be equally treasured. There's no function that's better than the other. So just as much as any function could be healthy and great when it's developed, it could also be trash when it's undeveloped and unhealthy. And once you keep that in mind, that really allows you to be able to have a heart of understanding to pursue such people. But if you're just continuing to see certain functions as like, oh yeah, FE is like this, or even, oh yeah, FI is like this, then I am going to be the FE Dom to be like, you're not actually creating real harmony. Instead, we are just pitting each other against each other. Oh, that's a FE user. Oh, that's a FI user. And I don't think that's always like all that helpful. Not to say that that's what Elijah was trying to incite, but just in case, if that might have accidentally been a collateral damage that caused that, I felt like I should say something about that. Anyway, I did roast all of the types at one point. And so if you want to check out those videos, I actually did all the NFs. So you can search NFs Low-Key Suck by me, where I went through all the NF types, ENFJ, INFJ, ENFP, and INFP, and I roasted them. It was a few years ago. Well, not a few years. It was quite some time ago. But yeah, I did it. And then after that, I went through all the other 16 types. And it was just all in fun, and I tried to be as accurate as possible. I used a lot of people in my own life. And then I started to make the High Key Rock series, you know, just to kind of like reverse that, because just as much as everyone sucks, everyone also rocks. And so if you want to check out those videos, go ahead and check them out. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, drop them in the comments section below. I would love to hear them. Also, if you would like to find out what personality type that you are, if you are a selfish FI user or a
pesky FE user,
hey, let's hit denzelmensah.com, book a profiling session with me so that we can really get that confirmed. And then if you want to grow from the level of selfish or pesky or whatever that you might be, bossy TE user, anal TI user, whatever you want to throw on that, then book coaching with me. And I'm going to help you so that you can get to a higher level of that skill, of that function that you're using. And then you'll be able to operate at a level where you're not going to really be fazed by these kind of things because they don't really describe you anymore. So yeah, thank y'all for watching. I really appreciate it. And don't forget, you matter. Done. Thank you for taking the time to watch that video. And if you enjoyed that, please like and subscribe. It actually really helps out my channel a lot so that more people who actually care about what I want to say can actually find me a lot more easier. Also, if you did enjoy it, then maybe you'll enjoy a lot of my other content as well. So be sure to check out some of my playlists where you'll be able to find a lot of my older videos and older content. And last but not least, if you would like any profiling sessions or coaching sessions, be sure to check out denzelmensah.com where you'll be able to book me and you'll see the rest of my services. But thanks again and have a great day.